Slovenia moving up now. That team has got Gregor Bol, Borut Buzic, Jani Brakovic, Jura Kojan, Christian Koren and Goran Stengel. The Slovenian team in the lime green and blue colours over on the right-hand side of the picture. And now Ben King comes back to the front. Apologises to Andreas Clear. And Andreas will just, in his own way, have a chat. And then Ben King will get on with doing his work. Thanks for joining us for these World Road Race Championships. 6 riders on the attack. We lost Christian Puz. We now have Iglinski and Kangat, Shudza, Roux, Lastras and Kizilowski being chased down at around about 2 minutes 39 seconds by Simon Clark, Johan van Sumeren, Luca Paolini, Oliver Kaizen and Johan Ofredo. The peloton are at 3 minutes 32 seconds now. And this attack of Simon Clark has taken the pressure totally off the squad of Baden Cook, Simon Gerrans, Matthew Goss, Heinrich Hausler, Matt Heyman, Stuart O'Grady, Michael Rogers and Chris Sutton. Paolini has now taken the pressure off Benati, Gavazzi, Modolo, Oss, Quinziato, Zazzato, Visconti and Viviani. Some good riding here by these squads.
They're looking at 6 laps to go in the bike break, and don't be surprised to hear if we see another attack this time up the eastern hill from that field. Looking at the field, new armies are coming up, and they're getting up, set up, and they're bringing up their position to get ready to launch another attack. I think they saw the success of Ben Summer, and I think you might see another attack coming this up the hill.
Approaching the line for the next time, this 6-man breakaway led by Iglinski. 6 laps to go that time. Still, this breakaway isn't looking too tired. Their average speed 45.211 kilometers an hour. Chris Froome of Great Britain on the front. There's a massive amount of work being done here by Great Britain and Germany to try and bring this back together. As we see the chasing group now into the finishing straight again, and they will be given 6 laps to go this time. Johan van Sumeren, a great performance from him as Oliver Kaizen goes through. Luca Paolini animated, asked for a bottle. Kaizen on the front. The tactics of the Belgians looking good. Paolini takes another drink as well, making sure that he's got as much energy as possible. 6 riders on the attack, 5 riders chasing. And the atmosphere building all the time now as people bang the boards. It's about 10 deep now in the finishing straight. And we really do have a bike race on. Leading across the line this time. At 2 minutes and 3 seconds. Things are being squeezed a little bit. The interesting point will be where the peloton are. And what situation they find themselves in terms of the time gap. The average speed 45.211. As we look now at the peloton, this is starting to close up a little bit with 6 laps to go, and the peloton making their way up towards the line. And now we have another attack. And this is the tactics of the Italians and the Belgians, which is basically, we ain't going to let this be controlled, and we are going to rip it up. Visconti goes on the attack now, and it's all stretched out. Visconti absolutely charging away from the line now to try and break the will of the rest of these riders. Look at this. Immediately, it's Martin Kohler of Switzerland who goes with him. Gavazzi, Gerrans is also up there. Vitti of Spain, Talinghi, Ben King. Suddenly, the Germans and the British are not represented towards the front of the group. The gap is now 2 minutes and 55 seconds from the front of the race. This is going to be a pretty thrilling finish to this World Championships. The Italians know and the Belgians know that if they drag this to a finish, then the Norwegians and the British and the Germans will be very, very happy. So they're not going to let it happen. And look at this, Simon Gerrans is absolutely flying on the front of this group. The rider who currently rides for Team Sky and will now be moving to Green Edge. All lined out now, as they look like they're bringing this back together, so the chase is certainly on. Looks like this leading group, you can see the pace is considerably slower than the chasing group, who are absolutely now firing on all cylinders. As Tim said when he came in earlier, it just gets faster and faster and faster. And now more teams are represented at the front as the Italians go on the attack again. Bettini using his way of riding, which was always an attacking style, to try and rip this race up. But Britain now bring this race back together. So does Gerrans, moves to the right-hand side of the road. The right-hand side of the picture, the left-hand side of the road. And his current Team Sky teammates don't even give him a glance. Well, that was a thrilling few moments. This is the chasing group who are still in the gap. Van Summeren on the front, working extremely hard now. Paolini, Alfredo, Clark and Kaizen. Kaizen is giving this as much as he possibly can. Great Britain on the front again with Chris Froome. This guy has ridden on the front for hours and given this as much as he possibly can to try and bring this title home for Mark Cavendish. Ben King is up there for the United States of America. But this is the chasing group, who are now at 1 minute 44 seconds as they go through that time split. So the state of play for you all watching these World Road Race Championships. Tangat, Schutzer, Roux, Lastras, Iglinski and Kieselowski. 1 minute 44 seconds ahead of Simon Clark, Olivia Kaizen, Luca Paolini, Johan van Sommeren and Johan Alfredo. The peloton now are chasing this one down, and they're going to be around about the 2 minute mark by the looks of things. 2 minutes 24 seconds is the advantage, and it is a train led by Great Britain. No longer we have Andreas Clear and Bert Grabsch up there. The peloton are bringing this back now. It is, 1:44 from the leading group to the chasers, 2:24. So 40 seconds now, the difference between the chasing group and the peloton. It is closing all the time. One rider is down, and that is sitting on the road is Belkadri of France. That looks pretty sore. He's gone under the barriers, but he's moving around and he'll get back up. It's going to take a little bit of time for these riders to get organised. Oh, Frank Schleck has been held up as well, as has, I think, Tyler Farrar. Oh, there's more riders here. Farrar is down. And there's a couple more riders who are in the hedge. So, Frank Schleck, Tyler Farrar. Who else is down here? We'll double check. I'm not sure that Gilbert isn't, but we'll have a look. But let's have a little look in a second. I think Gilbert is there. Gilbert is there. Let's just check it. No, it isn't. It isn't Gilbert. It is. It looked like it was Gilbert who was trying to get his bike sorted out. Well, there's a few riders down. It was Van Avermaet who had crashed. Well, they've obviously there's obviously been a touch of wheels. I mean, Frank Schleck is still standing at the side of the road. There's one rider in the hedge. Michael Barry is also there. And it's just people get more and more tired. Looks like Frank Schleck's finished. He shakes his head. Frank Schleck's World Championships is over. Haven't mentioned him all day, apart from one puncture, but Schleck now says, no, I'm not continuing, that's it. Michael Barry also is out, so is Belkadri. And we're hearing that the defending champion Hushoff is also out of the back. So we'll catch up on things. Well, I just want to welcome our Canadian viewers on Rogers Sportsnet. A warm welcome to the World Championships. I'll just update you on exactly what's been going on for the benefit of you and everybody else who's watching. We have a breakaway group of riders in this World Championship. Anthony Roux of France, Tanel Kanget of Estonia, Pablo Lastras of Spain, Oleg Shudza of the Ukraine, Maxim Iglinski of Kazakhstan and Robert Kisilovsky of Croatia. They have a 1 minute and 2 second advantage on Johan van Summeren of Belgium, Luca Paolini of Italy, Simon Clark of Australia, Olivia Kaizen of Belgium and Johan Alfredo of France. The peloton are being led and have been being led by Germany and France and one rider from the United States, Ben King, for probably about the last 2 hours. The gap to them is around about now 2 minutes 20 seconds. In fact, now it's 1 minute 49. And we've just had a crash which has caused Tyler Farrar, Frank Schleck, Greg Van Avermaet, Michael Barry, Bilal Kadri to be standing at the side of the road. Thor Hushoff apparently also has been held up by this crash as well, but we'll see whether he gets back on. But the tactics are interesting. The Belgians want to break this race up, and that's why Van Summeren and Kaizen are in here. So do the Italians, and Great Britain and Germany want it to be a sprint. And this is the big group of riders who have been left behind. And it contains Tony Martin, who's also in here. So Tony Martin is in this group. We'll have a little look through. There are many, many riders out the back, and Great Britain aren't going to wait for them. Neither are Germany, although Martin is in here. But their game really is about John Degenkolb. And these guys are 2 minutes and 58 seconds down. Just looking to see who else is in this group. It's a big bunch of riders who have been tailed off by that crash in one of the narrow bits of road. Frank Schleck is now back on his bike, but I'm not sure he'll ever get back on. This is an important part of this race. This is the leading group, have been on the attack for most of the day today, if you have only just joined us. Originally, Poos of Luxembourg was also in here, but he was dropped. The main animator in that leading group was Shudza of the Ukraine. He was desperate to get on the attack early doors, and that's what he did. Their maximum advantage went out to 8 minutes and 5 seconds, and now slowly but surely they're being reeled in. But this chasing group is not making the headway that they've made a fair amount of headway, but actually their gap between them and the chasers, this peloton, is not considerable enough. It hasn't really grown. Ben King is doing a lot of work on the front, and the rest of the Great Britain team lined up behind, as are Australia, who are ready to pounce as soon as any junction is made. But a great performance from Simon Clark of Australia. It's a much smaller peloton now, and these guys are not going to wait. Can see Nick Noynes over there on the left-hand side, who's glancing around and realises that there are certainly a lot less riders here. Hearing on Radio Tour that Thor Hushoff's group is at 50 seconds behind this peloton. Will he ever get back on, is the question. I don't know why Ben King is now still working, because I think he probably doesn't even realise that Tyler Farrar is out of the back. So there is a group off the back here of the bunch, the main peloton at 1 minute 49. Just looking my way through the groups to just to update you and see what is going on. I think there's a gap back to the next group on the road, which is about 50 seconds. There's a group at 2 minutes 51, another minute behind the group led by Great Britain, and in that group are the following riders. Let's just run through some of the names. Luis Leon Sanchez is definitely in there. Julian Dean of New Zealand is in that group. Greg Henderson, Andreas Clear, who's doing a lot of the work earlier on. Also in that group is Milokovic. Iran is in there too. So is Svein Tuft and Bernard Eisel. Then there's a group at 3 minutes with Jack Bauer. Thor Hushoff is 3 minutes and 10 seconds down as things stand. So there is a bit of carnage now in this group. This race is proving to be very interesting. As Rob Hale said to us earlier on today, these roads are narrow and they look on camera. And we went around them in the car earlier on, and they definitely are. There is no doubt at all about it. And some of these corners do cause a problem, so you have to ride near the front. And I don't know, Ben King probably doesn't realise that Tyler Farrar is not in this group. The leading group now has been caught by the group of Simon Clark. So now we have this leading group of 11 riders. We'll see what the time check is as they make their way up here this time with 5 laps to go in the World Championships. The tactics that are being played out have been very, very interesting. Now we get the counter-attacks happening, and it's the Netherlands who are trying to go on the attack now at the front. They'd be probably happy with a springboard kind of breakaway group. They don't want things to play into the hands of Great Britain with Mark Cavendish. 5 laps to go. The gap is short. It's only about a minute. The first rider across the line that time was the Dutch rider. Peter Wiening goes on the attack, and then Great Britain all lined out with the Australians also in there, and it's a much smaller peloton who are trying to bring back this leading group of riders. Also in there is, at the back is Wouter Poels of the Netherlands. So it's a group now of around about 122 riders. So we've got 11 riders in a leading group and 111 riders in the peloton. The rest are out the back of the race now. Well, we'll have a look now to see the next group on the road, and I'll try and, as they go under the commentary box, I'll pick some of the riders out, but they are a long way down. Jack Bauer is in that group for New Zealand. Thor Hushoff is also in that group now, and they must be around about a minute behind the main peloton. There's a lot of chasing going on. It is 1:04 to the main peloton. And 2 minutes to the group containing Hushoff. I don't think Tyler Farrar is in that group at all. which means the tactics of the Americans now are a bit interesting. There is the group of the New Zealander Jack Bauer in it, and they are dropping away. They're not closing this gap at all. 2 minutes and over 2.5 minutes, and it looks to me like the chances of Hushoff defending his world title have disappeared in a crash. Kurt Arzu-Arvidsson sitting on the back of the peloton. He is in this group. Matt Goss we could see just in front of him, not too far. And Arvidsson has been looking around to see whether there's anyone there. The question for me is whether Tyler Farrar is in this group, because the Americans are doing a massive amount of work. And they'll be very happy, the Americans, the British, to let an American rider sit on the front and do this amount of work. He doesn't have to. There's Quinziato of Italy. Quinziato riding alongside the car with Paolo Bettini in it. And back to the front with Paolini. Looking strong is Paolini, powerful rider, good in a breakaway. Lastras, who's been there all day. Stage winner in the Grand Tours. Johan van Sommeren, a winner of Paris-Roubaix. A great domestique. Rides for Garmin Cervelo. Used to ride for De Vitamin Lotto. He's a man you definitely want with you if you're trying to keep things going like this. The original breakaway is Glinsky there of Kazakhstan in the turquoise colours. Kizilowski in the red and white of Croatia. And the man at the back from Australia, Simon Clark. Great Britain all on the front with a sandwich filling of the rider from the United States of America there in the luminous yellow helmet and shades. And now some more conversations going on. And it's Arvidsson who's having a chat to the British riders. And of course he rides for Team Sky, so he knows many of them. But they ain't going to let Thor Hushoff come back. There is no possibility that they're going to allow the defending champion to come back to them. They've got the race how they want it. This time round, we're going to get 4 laps to go in the World Championship. We are 4.5 hours of racing covered, and the average speed still over 45 kilometres an hour. It's a thrilling race. The crowd are building an incredible atmosphere. It is pretty special here in Rudersdal, 20 kilometres north of Copenhagen. Jeremy Hunt, and now another attack, and this is this time Anders Lund of Denmark, who goes on the attack after 207.2 kilometres. Anders Lund, of course, a very, very good bike rider from Denmark, who, as I think, just thinking through his palmarès, won the under-23 Liège-Bastogne-Liège in the past. And now the counter-attacks are starting to happen, and the Belgians are up there in numbers. This is the chasing group with Jack Bauer in it. Julian Dean, Thor Hushoff, Tony Martin, Christian Knies, all in this group of riders. At the front for Denmark, the Irishman now goes across. Looked to me like it might be Dan Martin who sneaked in here as well. So suddenly this race is looking a little bit different. Just to update you then, the gap to the leading group is 1:30. The gap then to the Hushoff group is 2:25. They're not giving up. They are closing it a teeny little bit. 55 seconds. And now we have another group on the move. And they just don't want to let the British team sit on the front like this. So just to recap for you, the state of play on the road, 11 leaders in this World Championship, tracked by the peloton at 1:30 and a group containing Thor Hushoff, the defending champion, at 2:25. They were held up by a crash that's taken out Frank Schleck. But now the chasing group, being led by Baden Cook of Australia. And the Aussies have got 2 riders in here. Gerrans is also in here. Gerrans he's been trying to get away all day. Well, maybe not all day, that might be an over-exaggeration. He's been trying to get away for 3 laps for sure. It's a kind of lumpy, kind of jump-away course for Gerrans. If he can get in a move, he could certainly do something at the finish. Morkov sitting on the back, now another reaction. And certainly a big move here from Dan Martin of Ireland. Dan Martin moves across to the right-hand side, and Great Britain tried to tow this back. Nick Noyens of Belgium now goes to the front. What a group this is. Noyens, Cook, Dan Martin, Simon Gerrans. It is proving to be a rapid race, and it is just about who's going to hold on and have the legs. Great Britain towing this back with Jeremy Hunt on the front, but there are just splits all over the place. Looks like David Miller now on the front as they all track the wheels. There are gaps everywhere. It's such a rapid pace, and the attacks are going every single time over the top of the climb, which kind of says that Mark Cavendish is going to have some pretty supreme legs to be able to get there. Great Britain tow this back, and the man on the front in the green and white, Dan Martin, who of course decided to become an Irish rider because he had Irish nationality, and of course could have ridden for Great Britain. Before the British performance plan happened, Martin wanted to ride for Great Britain. He had a little bit of a disagreement, and they really said they weren't going to invest in the road at that period of time, and Dan Martin said, well, if that's how you're going to be, I'll go and ride for Ireland. That's what he's done, and now he's dishing it out to the Brits as they go on the attack, but he knows them all so well. His dad, Neil Martin, one of the top professional bike riders in Great Britain for many, many years. And Dan Martin's mum is Stephen Roach's sister. So he is the cousin of Nicholas Roach as well. And now him and Nicholas ride together in the Irish squad with Matt Bramier. And now Great Britain go back to the front and continue with the work they've been doing. The question is whether this chasing group is going to get back. Chris Froome is desperately trying to hold on at the back. Radio Tour just telling me the gap is 56 seconds now. Stephen Cummings still on the front. Jeremy Hunt in second place. They haven't half-time trialled this today. David Miller there. 11 riders in the leading group. The rest of these teams have had to do no work whatsoever. They've done absolutely no work on the front. They haven't had to. Great Britain has put themselves in this position, which is, we're going to ride on the front and you can all sit there, because our plan is that we are going to take Mark Cavendish to the finish. .212.5 kilometres of this World Championship have been completed now. The total race distance, 266. 4 laps of 14 kilometres to be completed. And Britain have only lost one rider, and that's Chris Froome, who is sitting on the back of this group, trying somehow to recover. This is the group that contains Thor Hushoff, and it looks like this race is going to be over for them. I don't want to write them off too early, but you look at the time, the peloton went through at 57 seconds. Tony Martin sitting in second place, and they're going to come through now, and the gap is going to be 2:22. So it looks like about 2 minutes 25 seconds is the, or 1 minute 25 is the deficit, and it's going out. Great Britain all on the front, and now I think the Americans have realised that Tyler Farrar isn't in there. It's an interesting race, this one, as we run through the group at 2:22. Some big names in there. Sweetsoff also is in that group with Hushoff. And now the gap drops to 57 seconds, and Great Britain are pretty happy with that, but the problem they've got is letting that group behind them come back. They need to keep the pressure on. Is being led pretty much all the time by Great Britain. They are 1 minute and 2 seconds behind. And then Thor Hushoff is in a group at 1 minute and 43. Now we get another attack from Switzerland with Albacini. Albacini, who will also ride for Green Edge next year, goes on the attack over the top of this climb and makes a massive move. That was a big attack. They just want to soften things up. Constant hammer blows to the British, German teams. Thomas Lofquist also in that move, as is Michael Rogers, but then the rest of the group led by Great Britain. Interestingly, Lofquist of Team Sky as well. So Lofquist going over the top of this climb and putting in a massive turn. Lofquist in the blue and yellow, followed by the man who made the move, Albacini, tracking him. One Belgian rider. We've also got a load of other nationalities represented in this group. We can just see the camera will show us who else is in there. Rui Costa of Portugal, Bjorn Lukemans and Michael Rogers, with Nick Noyens in this group. Most of the British team, Team Sky, but here Lofquist and Rogers also of Team Sky. Rogers looks around, he looks pretty confident. And it's closing up, 42 seconds now, the deficit. What a race this is. It's been non-stop from the start. You've had the breakaway group and you've just had things happening constantly. Well, thanks to all of you for watching us here on the World Road Race Championships. I'm going to count you all the way through now to the conclusion of this race. And we'll see who brings home the title. Which country? This is the chasing group with Löfqvist on the left-hand side in the blue and yellow of Sweden. Michael Rogers looking pretty good in here for Australia. Bearing in mind Simon Clark, who currently rides for Astana, moving to Green Edge, is in that leading group. So Rogers can use the remote control. He doesn't have to do 1 ounce of work. A lot of riders now have retired as well. Just run through a few of them for you. Bert Grabsch, Andrew Talansky, Puzzi was in the early breakaway. Frank Schlecker's also gone. Leonardo Duque is retired, as has Stefan Dennefield, Michael Barry, and Roman Kreuziger, of course, didn't start. Quite a few riders now have dropped out of this World Championship. The riders that are left, Löfqvist looking pretty strong here. The last 2 laps have been run off at 49 kilometers an hour and 46, nearly 46.5 kilometers an hour. This is the chasing group. Chasing group with Albacini, Rui Costa, and Noyens. Noyens is a danger man in here. There's no doubt about it. This is exactly what he would want. Number 7 at the back there. So Great Britain tow the peloton back to this group. It's all been about riding like a team time trial. The Dutch have done very little today. Lars Boom is in here. So is Johnny Hugeland. Now we get another attack for Denmark, and the crowd go particularly mad this time. Lars back on the attack now. Just pedalling away, and on the front of the bunch is David Miller. Lars back, a teammate, of course, of Mark Cavendish, goes on the attack now as we look at this leading group being led by the Australian Simon Clark. They're looking a bit ragged now, and Simon Clark's decided, right, we've got to get a little bit more pace in here. And Great Britain won't want to catch this too early. Lars back looks around and sees a little bit of an advantage for him, for Denmark, as he is urged on by the crowd at the side of the road, seeing the red and white colours of the Dane. Perfect moment for Denmark. And still Great Britain sit on the front, and they have done for the entire race. They let the gap go out to 8 minutes and 5 seconds, and then ever since they have been on the front. Sitting on the back of the group here, number 42, Stephen Cummings of Great Britain. done a massive amount of work, and he'll just see if he can recover and see if he can help out again. But Lars back, an impressive performance, looking strong, tapping out of rhythm. Now we get an attack at the front from the leading group, and it is Kieselowski and the Frenchman going with him. Still Alfredo persists with this attack, the Frenchman. Sitting alongside me to the left-hand side, Jackie Durand and Jean-Francois Bernard, who are enjoying this one. He goes past some barriers that have been that are almost glistening the red, white and blue, as we see now an attack from Ukraine, and this is the man who started the original move. This is Schutzer. What a day this man's having. Alfredo hanging on at the front, clicking his way through the gears, and everyone who says this circuit is flat, these riders will be telling you otherwise. Rolling roads, sun is out, hot day, tiring, wearing down circuit, where you just have to just try and hold on to the wheel, because it's just been so quick. The fastest lap so far is the 13th lap. The opening lap of 8:12, followed by 8:18. The 13th lap was 17 minutes and 8 seconds. The 14th lap was 18 minutes and 7 seconds. That was the second fastest lap of the World Road Race Championships. Just shows you the difference. They're just turning the screw all the time as they go up another rise. And for the first time, Great Britain are no longer there. Norway come to the front. They've obviously decided to maybe ride for Bosenhagen if he's there. Edvald Bosenhagen is in here, so they've decided now to play another card. And they're all over the place here as Alfredo goes up the road and is still away. Here come the peloton. Lars back is not far behind them, behind this chasing group. Here they are. As they look round, there is Lars back in the red and white, and not far behind them as we hit the finishing straight. Look how much that rises up. Earlier on it looked relatively flat, now it looks like a proper hill. Lars back. I'm pretty sure this is Anthony Roux actually is on the attack, but we'll have a little look as he goes across the line. This time round they're going to get 2 laps to go in the World Road Race Championships. The question now is whether all the work that has been done by Great Britain is going to prove worthwhile with 2 laps to go. 5 hours, 6 minutes of racing. Anthony Roux is the rider on the attack. I thought the caption was wrong, and Lars Peter Nordum next to me says it is. Can you hear yourself? It's so loud. The noise is absolutely incredible. Here we go, Lars back. Well, he's pulling some faces, but the Danish fans are going to break the boards at the side of the road. They're going completely and utterly nuts. He's 28 seconds from the lead. Anthony Roux on the attack. Schutzer is there. Van Summeren looks like he's blown completely. His legs have gone. And then it's about the chasing group with Norway and Great Britain. And there's some faces being pulled now at the front of this group. And Great Britain now still have 5 riders near the front. 2 laps to go. Great Britain gets some help for the first time in this race since, I don't know, about 4 laps ago when Germany lost Andreas Clear. Let's just run through some names for you. As Anthony Roux continues with his attack, he's got 14 seconds advantage. So the riders who are towards the front of the chasing group, the peloton. The race situation is Roux on the attack, followed by that group at 14 seconds. Lars Bak is at 28. Van Summeren's legs have just blitzed themselves. He's now at 34. Gabriel Rasch leads the peloton with Kurt Arzel-Arversen, Jeremy Hunt, Brad Wiggins, Juan Antonio Flescher, Chris Sutton, Baden Cook. Matt Goss is up there now for the first time. Martin Kohler, Mark Cavendish, David Miller, Ignatius Konovalovas, Geraint Thomas, Ian Stannard, Martin Velets, Fabian Cancellara, Edvald Bosenhagen, O'Grady's there, Albacini, Lars Boom, Thomas Volkler, Taylor Finney, Peter Sagan. It is about 120 riders now in with a shout of winning this world title. 20 seconds to the chasers for Anthony Roux, the Frenchman. What a performance he's been putting in today. He's been on the attack for, he was part of the original breakaway. Simon Clark putting in a great performance for the Australian squad, but Norway are working hard now, and it's bye-bye to Van Summeren, who can't even stay now with the peloton, his legs completely given out. Anthony Roux, the leader of the World Road Race Championships, who rides, of course, for FDJ. He's had a good year. He won the Sarthe Épée de Loire. He won the general classification in that. He was second in the Road Race Championships of France. He won the Duo Normand just a few weeks ago. He has, of course, in 2009, won a stage of the Vuelta a España, and he also won the was second in the Espoirs Liège-Bastogne-Liège when he was noticed before he turned professional for Francais de Jeu. So these kind of rolling roads he's probably going to like. Lars Bak desperately trying to get himself to the front of this race. It's an impressive performance from the Danish rider on home turf. Roux now just cruising along, pulling faces, grimacing, but putting in a great performance. The second rider on the road is the Australian Simon Geraint, who's in a massive gear. Look at this. Geraint's like Chris Sutton today. This is a big, big move. It does look like Chris Sutton to me who's gone, and I'd be surprised about that, because you would expect Sutton to do something in the sprint, but maybe he's decided that he wants to try things a different way. Some brilliant racing going on. Suddenly this race is all about to come back together. Squeezing gels in like there's no tomorrow. And Anthony Roux, 21.5 kilometres to go to the finish. 10 seconds. He is going to get reeled in. And the Australian Sutton, and there's a bit of hand gesturing going on by the Aussies, who say, get off the front now, we need you back here, because their plan is going to be to lead out Matt Goss. This is the group of Hushoff. His day and his time as the world champion is over. And now we get a counter-attack, and it's Martin Terlingi of the Netherlands. Again tracked by Great Britain. Terlingi with that familiar stamping style as he tries to cruise across, but it's not going to happen. Because with 1 lap to go, this race is going to be closed totally. And a bit of stretching going on at the back from Mart Ojevy of Estonia. But just look at that, David Miller on the front for Great Britain, just towing himself back up to Terlingi, and they're just going to let Anthony Roux stay there. They're not worried at all. What a race. Well, this man's time in the lead. He's getting some good TV time, but it's not really going to happen as far as staying out there is concerned. So the French are going to have to look for another card, and they've played quite a few of them. Terlingi's still going away for the Netherlands. The first real time we've seen the Netherlands do anything apart from Peter Wiening. But they should still have in here Lars Boom, who I haven't seen all day. But it's a team time trial. Look at Cavendish in that black helmet sitting at the back of the group. Visconti chases across to Terlingi. David Miller, hands in the middle of the bars, looking relaxed. And Roux, with 240.5 kilometres completed, looks around, and for the first time in a few hours is going to see the peloton. 5 hours, 17 minutes and 3 seconds. Visconti goes through. Miller is there, Stannard, Thomas, Cavendish, Volker is up near the front, Bosenhagen, Fredo is still there. Barredo, number 14 through. And now we get Volker going on the attack for France. Look at this. Well, he wore the yellow jersey in the Tour de France. And now he shouts to Anthony Roux and says, give me a springboard if you can. There we go, onto the wheel, but he hasn't got the legs, he just can't. He shakes his head. Here goes Thomas Volker of France, who goes on the attack now. And the French are going completely and utterly loopy right here, right now. They know Volker has been sitting in the middle of the group, and now he makes a massive move. And the gap starts to open for Thomas Volker with 3 riders going away. And the fans who watched the Tour de France this year, they recognise him immediately. He's got such a massive following, Thomas Volker, but the entire British team back on the front. Sucking in the oxygen. Going with him is another of the Norwegian, the Danish team. Immediately onto the wheel. This is a very impressive move, but Great Britain again are trying to tow things back if they possibly can. Next to Morkov and Volker. Volker looking, he's so animated. It's got the French tricolour all over that bike of his. He looks round again and he desperately wants to see if he can pull this out. Could be Kevin de Vert, I think, who is with him. Nicky Sorensen on his home roads. And now it's about this time trial which continues. As Wiggins, Miller, Stannard, Thomas and Cavendish head the front of this peloton. Wiggins time trialing so quickly as Thomas gives David Miller a shove. Who is going to win the World Championships of 2011? This is one absolutely amazing bike race. Well, we run through the names that are in this peloton now as they go zipping their way through the right-hander. It's Thomas Vogler, Nicky Sorensen, Klaas Ludovic in the top three. In the peloton looking for the win, Mark Cavendish. Also in this group, Bosenhagen. Matt Goss is in here. Tyler Ferrara of the United States of America. But then you've got riders who might outwit everybody else. Sylvain Chavanel is also in here as well. We are about to be treated to a real treat. That lap was 17 minutes and 44 seconds, an average speed of 47.368 kilometers an hour. It is the second fastest lap of this race. Ludovic holding on. Vogler in second place. Nicky Sorensen in third place. Can you imagine if a Dane wins the World Championships? The last three times, the only three times the World Championships have been held in Copenhagen, three times Belgians have won the race. Rick van Steenbergen on two occasions. And Eloy Muhlenberg was the other winner of the world title in Denmark. Cavendish sitting now, and he has to deliver. The amount of pressure on his shoulders must be absolutely immense, because he has asked the British team to ride on the front the entire way, and for him to bring home a victory at the top of this climb. Number 88 dropping out of the race now. Anthony Roux. Give him a round of applause, because that's been an absolutely stunning performance. He's been out in the lead all day. Vogler, his body absolutely etched in pain as David Miller sits on the front with Brad Wiggins, the Olympic track champion. David Miller, great time trialist. Wiggins has already won the silver medal in the World Time Trial Championships, and he's still there at the end of the road race. Many people thought that he wouldn't have a chance of lasting halfway, but Wiggins is putting in a great performance as he swings left and right and gives some riders some pain. 249.2 kilometres, and a Dutchman now on the attack and chasing hard. Hogeland, the man of the barbed wire, is now going on the attack. Johnny Hogeland of the Netherlands trying to go across now to the three leaders. Look at Hogeland go. Johnny Hogeland is now attacking. He's one of the toughest bike riders in world racing. In fact, you would say he's probably the toughest rider in world racing right now. How did he ride to the end of the Tour de France with the damage that he had? Ludovic, Sorensen and Vogler holding on. Johnny Hogeland of the Netherlands trying to go across. Who do you think's going to win this one? Thanks for all the Twitter messages today. It's a long old 6 hours in the commentary box, but every single minute's been worth it. Ludovic holding on at the front, trying to make this race hard as they run in towards the finish for Philippe Gilbert. But Johnny Hogeland, who course rides for Vacances Soleil, ripping it across to the leaders now. Four riders now at the front of the World Road Race Championships. Bradley Wiggins leading the chase. It's almost a British team pursuit squad on the front. There they are. with Wiggins, Stannard, Thomas and Cavendish being tracked by the Australians. When have you ever seen a World Championship road race carried out like this? Ludovic looks around. Jokla says, come on. Sorensen, Jokla shakes his head and says no. Sorensen wants a little bit more help. So he goes to the front, nods at Ludovic, says, come on, we can do this. But Wiggins, look at the speed of this man. 10 kilometres to go in the World Road Race Championships, the race situation. Hugelen now attacks the leading group. Jokla goes with him. Sorensen also onto the wheel. And now the train is being led by the red, white and blue of Great Britain. But Hugelen's trying to break this race up as he goes up the next little rise. Past the Danish flag for Nicky Sorensen at the side of the road. And somehow Great Britain are still bringing this race back together, but I think Wiggins has left all his energy now on the road. Only 3 riders left. We've seen so many trains go wrong in the last few kilometres in these races, in these World Championships. Can hardly contain my excitement in this race. It's one of the best World Championships I have ever had the pleasure of commentating on. Jokla goes through the right-hander with Sorensen on his wheel. Nicky Sorensen, a domestique who has ridden for so many champions. I remember sitting with him on the team bus of CSC in 2008 towards the end of the Tour de France, of which Carlos Sastre won, and he was just staring into the distance because this man gives absolutely everything for the rest of his team. And now he's at the front of the World Road Race Championships in Denmark, in his home country, as Hugelen tries one more time to inject a little bit more pace up this climb. Right across the road behind them, here come the cavalry. These 4 riders are going to get caught, but then it's about containing the run into the finish. And remember, we've got some swooping right-handers, and that's going to be pretty dangerous. Right on the back of the group there, Ben King of the United States. Now another attack as Jokla goes again. Look at this, he's giving it one last shout as he stamps on the pedals. He refuses to give in. Jokla trying to open up a few more seconds, hands in the middle of the bars, and being chased down by Bradley Wiggins. Jokla freewheels, he gives in and says, right, okay, fair play, guys, that's it, I don't have anything left. And now, look at the front of this race. Bradley Wiggins, mouth wide open. The Italians move up on the left-hand side of the picture in the Azzurri blue. The Australians surfing Matthew Goss onto the wheel of Mark Cavendish. And they have a train of about 5 or 6 riders. They've had a remote control ride all the way today, through the next right-hander, over the bridge. In a few moments, through safely, right on the back of the group, the Irish jersey as Wiggins looks around, and then the Italians move up on the right-hand side. 6 kilometres till we will know who the world champion is. The Australians look defiant behind the British train as they move over to the right-hand side. It's going to be Wiggins, Stannard, Thomas and Cavendish as they head towards the finish. How many times have these guys ridden around a velodrome together? And then Stannard is desperately trying to bring things through. Geraint Thomas goes up. They bump and barge Cavendish out the way. The Aussies are playing a little bit of tactical game here as Cavendish is totally squeezed out. Here come the Australians, who have washed away the British. Geraint Thomas now trying to lead Cavendish through, but the Aussies have got this absolutely perfect. They have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 riders at the front. Well, they haven't had to do anything all day. They've mixed things up a little bit when they've had to. but who is now going to win this World Championship title? Matthew Goss is going to go head-to-head with his current teammate Mark Cavendish, and Gossi will want this one desperately. He's not called Harley as his middle name for nothing. 3 kilometres to go to the finish. It's getting really, really dangerous in there now, as Denmark move up on the outside as well. Here come the French, and now another move on the right. The pace has completely gone out of the front of this race now, and that's why so many riders are able to move up through the trees. The helicopter shot as riders, the dangerous part is getting through this final right-hander, and that could put paid to many riders' chances, as O'Grady talks to the troops on the front. Here come more riders, and the Aussies don't have the speed at the front to keep this one going. Here come the Americans with Tyler Farrar. Farrar is brought to the front in the red, white and blue, the stars and stripes. And still, Geraint Thomas looks for Mark Cavendish. They've been washed away a little bit. Here come the Germans. The Germans move up with Degenkolb and Greipel. Greipel fancies this one. Whoa, what a finish through this narrow roundabout. And not far now to go to the finish of the World Championships. 2 kilometres to go. Just notice Romain Fayou, who will bump and barge and use his elbows and use his shoulders and everything else he needs to win the world title. Bosenhagen is in the string. The Aussies move up on the right-hand side. Ferrara is there. The Italians are looking for him. The Spaniards move up with Juan Antonio Flecha and Oscar Freire. It's so compact in here as Great Britain move up on the right-hand side. Geraint Thomas is going with Mark Cavendish, who squeezes through. Doesn't make it. Those barriers are so tight. Stannard is desperately trying to bring Cavendish through. This is really, really dicey. Here comes Geraint Thomas. Juan Antonio Flecha is dying on the front. He doesn't have the legs. Cavendish now on the wheel of, I think, Matthew Goss. As another movement happens, and Cavendish bumps and barges a little bit. Stannard out of the saddle, trying to keep the pace up because there's too many riders in with a chance. Thomas is looking round here, and Cavendish hasn't got the wheel safely through the corner. Is everybody there? They are. Whoa, look at this. And now it's about the finish. Who is going to win the World Championship? Thomas moves up on the right-hand side. This is going to be an unbelievable finish of this World Road Race Championships. Cavendish is on the wheel of Matthew Goss. When are they going to leave it to? The Australians leading out. Cavendish is on the wheel of Matt Goss as they swing all over the place now. Here goes the sprint. Tyler Farrar is up there. Geraint Thomas. Cavendish looks across. They're leaving it so late now. They're all getting washed away. There's now the lead-out train of Goss starts. They're bumping and barging in here. It's boxed in. Cavendish is working his way through as they all look round. Who's going to win the world title? They're all across the road. They're leaving it late. Cavendish goes now. Mark Cavendish goes for the World Championship. Right in the middle with Bosenhagen. Cavendish goes. Cavendish is the world champion. Mark Cavendish wins the World Road Race Championships for Great Britain. Oh, what a ride from Great Britain. Mark Cavendish is the World Road Race Champion, and he goes absolutely nuts. What a perfect result after Great Britain absolutely showed the rest of the world what a strong nation they are. Mark Cavendish, the green jersey in the Tour de France, 20 stage wins in the Tour de France. Mark Cavendish is the World Road Race Champion of 2011. What a win! The entire team rode a team time trial on the front of this race, and just when it looked like they might have got it wrong with the lead-out train of the Australians, Cavendish wins. Matthew Goss is second. Fabian Cancellara, I think, is in third place. It's a first place for Great Britain, a second place for Australia, and I think it was Cancellara. Wow. The other riders are in the mix, certainly Greipel, Rollins, Fayou, Bozic, Bosenhagen, Frere. Here's the sprint. Look at this, it's so tight in there. Cavendish goes for the wheel of Matt Goss. He's just waiting. Then he looks across, then he attacks. He thinks, right, I've got to go. Gilbert is closed off by Matt Goss, I think, who's bumped and barged all over the place. Cancellara's there. Cancellara in the middle. I think he got it, but Cavendish wins and Goss nearly gets him. Fabian Cancellara takes the bronze medal in the World Road Race Championships, but the world champion is Mark Cavendish. Jürgen Rollins is the Belgian, but look at that. Well, let's all get our breath back. What a finish. The two teammates at HTC, Matt Goss and Mark Cavendish, take the gold and silver medal. Actually, now we're being told that the photograph says that Greipel got third place and Cancellara was in fourth. Just checking the rest of the results. We'll get that up on the screen shortly, but we're now being told it's Cavendish, Goss, Greipel, Cancellara, Rollins and Fayou. Goss by less than a wheel in second place. That's a dead heat, surely. Look at that, Greipel and Cancellara. So here's the replay. The Australians, what a brilliant job they did in leading Matt Goss out. The move started to happen. Cavendish looks across. Goss tries to go with him and kind of gets held up a little bit by, I think, Bozic. But Cavendish, even on this long incline, still has the legs. And there is the World Championship jersey, which will be presented to Mark Cavendish.
Do you know what's happened 46 years ago in Spain?
In San Sebastian.
Here he is.
It was the last time a British rider won, Tom Simpson.
And now it's your day.
There couldn't be another result after the way the guys rode today. We had 8 guys, 8 of the best guys in the world, and it's the first time we've come together. And it's incredible. They took the race on from start to finish, and we won. I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
So did you feel from the start this morning in Copenhagen it could be the best chance for you to become world champion?
We knew 3 years ago when this course was announced, we put a plan together to come with the best group of guys to this race and come away and bring the rainbow jersey back to Britain. It's been 3 years in the making. The guys have worked so hard to collect points throughout the season to get 8 riders here, and then you just saw they rode incredible. I'm so proud.
And what are you thinking if I'm saying now London 2012?
We haven't got 8 guys there, we've only got 5 obviously, but it's a big goal for us. It's the biggest goal next year, and hopefully we can make the double with this year and then the Olympics next year.
Cycling is now a very popular sport in the UK, also thanks to you.
Yeah, thanks to me and thanks to the other 7 guys here and the other guys who worked hard all season to get points, and worked hard towards getting this rainbow jersey. You know, we've got a lot of Pro Tour riders now, got a lot of people riding the bikes, and that's incredible to see.
Thank you, Mark Cavendish, world champion 2011 in Rudersdal, Copenhagen.
As we see Mark Cavendish powering his way towards the line on the left-hand side of the picture there. The familiar style of the Manx missile powers his way across the line to take the World Championship. He gave you a little bit of an insight there as to what has been happening in terms of him trying to win this World Championship. His coach, Rod Illingworth, 3 years ago looked at this course, and since then Great Britain has had a project called Project Rainbow Jersey, and it's all been about bringing home the rainbow bands to Great Britain. The only other British rider, of course, who has worn that jersey was Tom Simpson in 1965. Well, there's the confirmed result after 5 hours, 40 minutes and 27 seconds of racing. Mark Cavendish of Great Britain is the 2011 World Road Race Champion. Matthew Goss, a great performance from the Australians today, takes second place. Andre Greipel takes the bronze, just ahead of Fabian Cancellara of Switzerland. A massive crowd here in Rudersdal.
The award ceremony of the UCI World Championships for Elite Men.
Sejrsceremonien for UCI's verdensmesterskaber på landevej. Elitevendenes linjeløb.
In third place and winner of the bronze medal, Andre Greipel of Germany.
Well, the bronze medal goes to Andre Greipel of Germany.
Presenting our medals.
Three sprinters from HTC. There's Petter, Mark Cavendish's girlfriend, who about 4 hours ago popped into the commentary box to say hello, and looked very, very nervous about the possibility of Cavendish winning the world title.
In second place and winner of the silver medal, Matthew Goss.
The silver medal goes to Matt Goss of Australia. He couldn't have done any more. A great performance from him.
In first place, the world champion of the event, Mark Cavendish of Great Britain.
Mark Cavendish is the World Road Race Champion, the first Briton to wear the coveted rainbow bands since 1965. With London 2012 on the horizon, Britain has a world champion. I don't think he can quite believe it. It was an unbelievable performance from Great Britain. They were impressive
Please take the podium.
beyond doubt. Every single one of the British squad riding on the front for pretty much the entire race. There's the podium: Greipel, Matthew Goss and Mark Cavendish.
After a week of outstanding time trialling and road racing at World Championship level, the scene is set on a beautiful autumnal day in Italy for the big elite professional road race. Hello again, everybody. I'm Phil Liggett with Paul Sherwin. 170 riders assembled for the Elite Professional World Championship here in Verona, this beautiful city of Romeo and Juliet, waiting now to crown the world champion for the 1999 season. And some of the stars are missing, as they are always now at this time of the year, but some of the stars are here as well. And among the favourites, Paul, Frankie van den Broek and Jan Ullrich after an exceptional Tour of Spain.
And Jan Ullrich, after winning the individual time trial championships just a couple of days ago, I reckon Ullrich has to be the #1 favourite, and the whole of the German team here are dedicated to trying to get him the win.
Well, some smiling, some very pensive faces down there. André Schmil, soon to defend the final leg of the World Cup in the Tour of Lombardy, just gone off to our left. Andrea Taffi, a lot of pressure will be on him today for the Italian team, the squadron that must perform in front of their own crowd. The pressure perhaps less so on the Dutch and indeed on the pensive face there of Alex Zülle. So at 10 o'clock in the morning, they're rolling away. The clock starts now. 260 kilometres, 16 laps of what I think will be a very tough circuit, and judging by the under-23 road race, the women's road race and junior road races we've seen on this same course all week, we're in for a great race.
A very difficult course, 16.3 kilometres around, and every time the riders have the very difficult climb of the Torricelli to go up to, and that reaches a maximum of 283 metres. 16 laps, making it 260 kilometres around here, and certainly it is going to be a war of attrition because the racing will be difficult, especially on the climb. But I have to say, I reckon Jan Ullrich is looking very relaxed on the start line this morning, already having got a world title under his belt, and he's going to be a very difficult man to beat because this is a circuit today for the tough riders.
And if we're going for cockiness, making a real favourite, then we also have to think of Frankie van den Broek. But let's look back to Valkenburg 1 year ago, and this man, after a brilliant road race, coming out a justifiable good winner of the World Championship, Oscar Kammerzind of Switzerland, reliving the great moments for a country that's been without a world champion for an awful long time. And since becoming world champion, Kammerzind only 2 wins under his belt this season. He, of course, went on to win immediately the Tour of Lombardy last year. But he's had a good year. 4th in the Flèche Wallonne, 8th in Liège-Bastogne-Liège, and 11th in the Tour of Italy. So now he'll look for a good defence of his title, and he knows what it's all about. The field, though, Paul, as we rejoin the race here, the sun has now come up. We're a few laps down the road. There has been no attacks at all, just a nice tempo, and not surprisingly, plenty of the squadra in the lead.
All the riders on the start line this morning fielding 12 men. But in fact the Swiss allowed to field 13 riders because they have the defending champion Oscar Kammerzind in their midst, so therefore they can start him as an extra rider, and that will give them a slight advantage going into the final of this race. Alex Zülle there riding a pretty good road race so far, but as you can see, very much to the front at the World Championship. Always the French team trying to put the hammer down, trying to keep the race difficult, especially over the summit of the climb.
Well, we've now just started to get a series of attacks here. We're moving on to around 7 laps to go from the finish now, and the pressure has noticeably been applied. André Schmil has been in the action as well, but we can tell you that very early on today at the 6th lap, Frankie van den Broek has crashed. His team dropped back for him, including Johan Museo. He's back safely in the pack and seems okay, but one rider out of the race, and rather sadly for the locals, is David Rebellin, because he's crashed and we believe has broken ribs. He's gone to hospital.
You notice a lot of work has been done here as well by the German team. The Germans in a new strip this year wearing blue and white, and in fact a lot of that is really because they're trying to just ride for one man here this afternoon, and that is going to be the sole leader of the team, Jan Ullrich. Taffi now trying to hotten up the pace at the front. Taffi also feels as if he's got very good legs at this end of season.
Well, there's 1 or 2 good ones, as always, on the Italian squad. There's 1 or 2 notables missing, of course, including Marco Pantani, who this time last year was saying how much he wanted to win the world title on this circuit, but having had a very controversial end to his campaign this summer, he's not here. But Taffi is seemingly trying to soften things up a little bit now, Paul, because their man on form is Francesco Casagrande, a man out with a doping suspension until the start of the Tour of Switzerland, which he won, and he's having a great end of term.
He certainly is, but at the moment really all of the pressure has been put on by the French and the German team, trying to make this a very difficult course, trying to harden it up at the most difficult part on the course, which is the climb of the Torricelli.
Well, this is the group that has been steadily building, but it's really not getting anywhere at all away from the main field. The big names are still watching from afar and marking each other nicely, as the chase now is beginning to shut it down a little bit. Just about a minute and a half it was over the top of the Torricelli. This is a climb which takes the riders up to 283 metres above sea level. It starts to bite at around the 170 metres level at San Leonardo and then goes straight up to the top. It's not the steepness of the climb, of course, it's the repetitiveness that one has going over it 16 times, and it does begin to bite.
Well, Andrea Tafi in second position there. That's Ribiera, the Spanish rider, in first position. And this is a pretty serious breakaway. Alex Zuller has managed to get himself up there, as well as Geert van Bont, the Belgian rider. It's interesting to note that Tafi's gone into this early breakaway. He feels he's got a great chance of winning here, but what it's done is put a lot of pressure onto the German team, who will have to chase. You can see the Italians in second and third position in the main field there. They're actually riding a defending role at the moment, hoping that the advantage turns towards Tafi.
Looks like Van Bon on the front here for Rabobank. Oh, I shouldn't say that really, because he's for Holland in the World Championship, not for, of course, for his individual team. This is the only time of the year the riders pull on their national team jerseys. Here's the breakdown of that league group, and Zuller was the man that started stirring it up. Tafi spotted it and has gone with him, and this is Andrea Tafi at the back. Remarkable rider, and has developed so much, particularly this last 3 or 4 seasons, as to be a top boy in Italy.
What a great performance by Tafi earlier on in this season, getting that victory in Paris-Roubaix, the race that he loves and the race that he has really dedicated himself to winning over the last 3 seasons. Their advantage now, Phil, over the chasing group is just down to 15 seconds. But interesting to note that the Belgians are riding well here today. They've placed 2 men into this leading group.
And there's the man who has been very active here, Alex Zuller. A remarkable second place on his comeback to the Tour de France, and pushing Lance Armstrong all of the way to his victory in that event, when whenever Lance came out with a stage win, it was Alex Zuller who crossed the line in second place.
And what a different story it might have been if Alex Zuller hadn't lost over 6 minutes on the 3rd or 4th stage over the Passage au Gois, because that really turned the books for Alex Zuller, and that took him out of the race as being a major contender. But he didn't give up, and he fought his way back and came up with second position, which is pretty remarkable when you think of the season that he had the year before and all that involvement with the Festina affair of 1998.
Leon Van Bon doing a lot of work here, Paul, to try and shut down this breakaway containing Zuller. The Tavosi, having spent first couple of hours of the coming up to dawn this morning, walking out with little ice buckets up onto the climb, getting in the best position for the day. The town here has been shut down for a week now, and nobody seems to mind at all.
Well, Van Bon, a former medalist at the World Championship today, doing an awful lot of work, because the Dutch camp really, Phil, today think that Michael Bogaert is going to be the favourite, because this certainly is a course that suits him. The leading group of riders now is starting to splinter under the pressure of Alex Zuller on the front of this group here, and certainly it has turned out to be a very difficult climb. It always is at the World Championships, because it's the pace of the riders that really dictates how difficult the course is going to be. And I have to tell you, this course here, the Torricelli, is certainly proving to be a pretty tough mountain.
Well, David Brylance, a little bit of a surprise, but you've got to take your chance in that leading group for the Belgians. As the 170 riders rolled out this morning, the field has already reduced quite drastically, as riders have peeled off at the pits, as they often do at the World Championships. As a very typical start to a World Championship today, a good tempo, but nobody attacking at all, just rolling around the course, getting the feel of the situation. That's changed a lot now, because there's good tempo, and when riders start this looking around, it means they are waiting for an attack. They're getting very twitchy indeed now. Number 21 there is Geert van Bont from Belgium. We've got 2 riders up in this breakaway just at the minute, being driven on all of the time by a very frisky Alex Zuller.
Zuller obviously trying to put the pressure on, hoping that in fact if there is a reaction, it'll come from the main field behind, and he can stay in the front split over the top of this climb. A great performance by Zuller at the moment, riding a very strong race here at the World Championships. But you can see you made me unlucky for Alex, because he's wearing number 13 today.
And also wearing the new Swiss national team strip there, which is quite attractive, as Ribiera, the Spanish rider, up there, second wheel, just seeing going through the frame there, was Andrea Taffy, and sitting at the back here at the moment is Gert van Bont, riding for the Belgians, but his team is in fact a Dutch team, the Farm Freak Team TVM.
The amazing thing about the elite men's race at the World Championships every year is when you look at the races that precede the World Championships, you see the under-23s, you see the women's races, and they always start off very quickly and then slow down towards the end. But in the men's professional road race, it's always the last couple of laps which prove to be the fastest event, the fastest of the event, and very often the fastest of the whole week on the same course used by everybody else.
Well, this is an interesting move by Zuller. Really, one would put him into the group of probably second favourites today, yet he's gone out so early on to try and break this race up. The way the races have been held this year, there are some surprise results possible. Remember Celestino in the Hughes Classic jumping away towards the finish and outwitting some big names. So maybe it's a good move to try and get an early group going, because that is a big field still rolling round behind this breakaway group.
There's a small group coming across there. There's Alex Zuller still setting the pace at the front, but it looked very much to me, in fact, if coming up from behind, Michael Bogart was leading them in the orange strip of Holland. And there's a Swiss rider with him there as well, and they may well have managed to slip away from the rest of the main field. There is a split going clear off the front of the bunch now, and this could be quite important because some of the big names are moving to the front.
Well, Zuller is looking around here. He's riding with Dave Brylance, but they're all over him now because Bogart has got across as they come up towards the top of the Torricelli. Yet again, this is a useful-looking group. Well, I was about to say a group, but it looks as though the whole peloton has crossed the gap here. Pascal Richard just passing through our screen as well. A big year for him next year when he has to defend the Olympic Championship in Sydney, assuming, of course, he gets selected by Switzerland.
There you can see that looked as if that was a serious move happening, but everybody very nervous at this stage of the World Championships, everybody being very attentive. Just going through there was in fact Jan Ullrich riding very close to the front. I caught a quick glimpse there of Frank Vandenbroek with his blonde hair going through there, but this now is the start of the descent off the Torricelli, and a very rapid descent as well.
Rapid and quite a tricky one too, and you see that the leaders of that group there trying to keep the pressure on to see if they can break up this rather big bunch.
Already one or two riders going out of the back because of the pressure on the front of the climb, and all that pressure was being made there by Alex Zuller. Now it's the turn of the Squadra Azzurri, the Italians, to come to the front and try and do something in this event. The Italians have had a pretty successful week with a win in the men's under-23 championship, and what a great performance that was as well. The Italians were looking to win on home soil, and if they could win the big one at the end of the week, the race that we're looking at today, then they would go home a very happy nation.
Well, I think they do need a result here, Paul, because, yeah, you're right about the under-23, but in all the other events this week, they haven't had much luck at all. And to talk to some of the riders, the wrong Italian won the under-23 event. He was a man that broke away early on. They never caught him. But now Andrea Taffy tried to get something going here, and this man reminds me quite often of the retiring Claudio Chiappucci this year, because he's never afraid to attack Andrea Taffy, and he's gone out in front to see just what happens. And here he goes again.
He wants to move. He wants to get into that early breakaway and take the pressure off himself, and then not being forced to play the defensive role. Another Italian getting into the group there as well, Sergio Barbero. Two Italians now getting themselves into a leading group of four, but there, Phil, is the main field. Nobody is going to let Taffy get 30 or 40 seconds up the road, because they know he is such a strong rider, and on a course like this he's capable of staying away for 30 or 40 kilometres.
Well, they're not going to give him any room at the moment as they start to chase him down the mountain here and then gradually try and regroup. This is an interesting looking group that's getting itself together now, but Taffy seems to be the man. He's the captain of the Squadra, and he's trying to get something set up because he knows they can't carry some of these names to the finish, least of all Jan Ullrich. And we haven't seen anything at all of Frankie Vandenbroek really since his crash when he was brought back into the field.
Chance there just to see a group of stragglers who are now round about ready to call it a day here at the World Championships, more than 3 minutes behind, but the pressure is certainly on at the front. But again, you see today, Phil, the Dutch are being very attentive. They're trying to keep themselves in close contact, trying to make sure that nothing gets off the front and puts them into a situation where they have to play a defensive role. There's Rolf Sorensen moving forward too today, riding for Denmark.
Another attack here from Alex Zula, goes over the shoulder of Martin Den Bakker. And this is the second time Zula has launched an attack. He caused a little bit of consternation with the last one, and he's gone again now. He's being chased here by Rolf Aldag. Aldag, the workhorse for the very faithful workhorse too of Jan Ulrich, rides on the same team as him, as well as being of the same nation, and he's got himself onto the tail of Alex Zula.
Zula really being very aggressive, surprisingly enough, attacking on the flattest part of the course here. But as one or two countries have different jerseys this year. In fact, this is the new strip as well for the Spanish team going to the front. It looked very much as if that was Garcia Acosta trying to get himself off the front, but again shadowed by the Italians. This is obviously the Italian tactic today, to make sure that they have a man in at least every move that is going up the road.
And Garcia Acosta had a great Tour of Spain this year in the colours of Benesto. Benesto refound themselves in the Vuelta and were in the thick of the action. It was an excellent Tour of Spain, and I hope you'll all enjoy watching that one. But we're looking down now at the Elite Men's World Championship, over the halfway point, and still no decisive moves whatsoever here, because a lot of riders seem to have the measure of one another. And I have to say, Paul, that the Italian squad don't seem to have the grip on this race like we've seen in the past.
Certainly not the big Squadra Azzurri as it has been in the past. In fact, looking to the front there, there's an American rider, looks like, and that must be Chan McRae. The American team not as strong as it has been at the World Championships in the last few years, but today, under the influence of the team manager Jim Okovitz, who's in the American team car driving there, he will certainly try and get them to do the best that they can. It is a shame that the World Championships, I feel, is held nowadays in October, because some of the great riders from the middle of the season, riders like Lance Armstrong, feel that it's not possible to keep the season going long enough, and they in fact pull out of the international circuit before the end of the season. So I don't feel nowadays that the World Championships has a full representative of all the best riders in the world.
Well, the season is long and hard now for the riders, and they're chasing world ranking points all of the time, and I don't think it is now physically possible to stay on top form for the year. Of the 8 Americans starting today, Paul, by my reckoning now, there's only 2 of them left in. You're right, one is Chan McRae, who's having a great end of term, and also Levi Leipheimer is also in this group.
Wilfred Peters moving to the front there, the fantastic Belgian rider, one of the best domestiques on the circuit, rode a great Paris-Roubaix this year, again in a defensive role for the Mapei squad, and again taking them to a 1-2-3 in that great race in Roubaix Stadium.
Well, there's Chan McRae now trying to get in amongst it here. This is looking like another decisive attack, and Chan is carrying it on. Well, he's full of confidence, is Chan McRae. He had a wonderful Tour of Spain, and look at this now, trying to go clear. He's sort of grown up in the same parallel as Lance Armstrong. Lance has come up with the big results. Chan, in his own way, is still developing, and I think there's an awful lot in this young rider.
It certainly is. He's a great talent. He's just had a very good finish to the Tour of Spain, but today he's looking to try and put his name right up in the highlights. But that attack came to nothing. And moving forward now, wearing number 98, the man everybody expects to ride well for Spain. Well, that's Odriozola leading them round the corner.
It's amazing how things have turned around. When Eddie Merckx retired in Belgium, there's been a 20-year or 30-year dearth of cyclists, but we've only just lost Miguel Indurain into retirement for Spain, and they produced a whole succession of bike riders. They won the time trial this week for the first time with Gonzalez, and now they're at the front of the frame again today.
Mark Wouters there. This is in fact Andrea Taffy trying to organise the riders at the front of the group. Taffy is so certain he's going to get himself into a successful breakaway today that he's going after everything that moves. Now here's the man you were saying you hadn't seen very much of, Van Bont, moving to the back, picking up some bottles for Frank Vandenbroek, who wasn't too far away from him.
Well, that's interesting to see that Vandenbroek still waiting to see how this race develops. Still a long way to go. The riders just settling in, but now they know they can forget all the shadow boxing now into the serious part of the World Championships, where only the strongest will survive the next couple of laps, and then the thinking will start again as to how to outwit those who have made the first selection.
Leading group of riders on the climb again in this group, Andrea Taffy. Max Chiandri there riding for Great Britain as well, very happy to be on a circuit like this, not too far away from his own home of